and good afternoon, class. How are you doing? Hope that you are all fine and safe. Today we will continue our lessons on Unit 7, which we did the first part of it last week, talking about paid and unpaid exchanges. If you need to review your lessons, you can go back and review our videos so you can continue our videos today. Today we can continue on Unit 7, 2.1, which is on page 62. On page 62. Can I write that down real quick for you? Page 62. On page 62, it's entitled Relationships Between Buyers and Sellers. Can you explain to me what does that mean? Relationships between buyers and sellers. We can go on to our Zoom post right after this first video and communicate more about this. And for some of you that don't have Zoom, we can communicate through Telegram. So for now, you can post up some questions or some examples on Telegram. What does the word relationship between buyers and seller means? Okay, we're going to discuss this more as we go along in our video. But through your readings on page 63 and 64, you will come across some words that you will need to know to understand this text. And in the first sentence in paragraph, it says, the meaning and roles of buyers and sellers. So for a buyer and a seller, we all have roles in the community and the meaning for each role. But what is a buyer? I'm going to ask you. If you say buyers are the one who buys the products, you are correct. That is how we review our lesson from last week. And sellers, what are sellers? If you say sellers are the person who sells you the product, that is correct. If I was about to sell you this pen, I would be the sellers, and the person that bought this pen or buy this pen would be the buyers. So we know what a seller and buyers mean. What about consumers? The word consumers. Can some of you post up on our Telegram post, what does the word consumers mean? Make it quick. I know you know what it means. Okay, if you have said consumer is the same thing as a buyer, you are correct, because a consumer is someone who buys the product. The word consume. The word consumes means someone who buy, or for example, someone who eats. Just say, I have consumed half of that pizza. That means I have ate half of the pizza. But if you add an R to it, consumers is the same thing, the one who eats, buy, or uses the products. So I am a consumer of a product. So I am a buyer of these products. So now that we have understand the word consumer, buyers, and seller means, where does the seller get their product from? Where do I get my product from? Where do I get this pen from to sell it to the buyers? Can you give me any clue? Can you give me any hint? Or post it up on our Telegram post. Where does the seller get their product from? For example, like in this book, the mango sellers, people that sells mango. Where does the seller get their mangoes from? From the farm? From somewhere else? Or from a factory where they clean the mangoes and sell the mangoes in bulk for you to sell? If you say that was the correct answer, from the farm or from the place where they sell it in bulk, you are correct. And those places are called the producers, the one who produces things. For example, if I have a mango farm and I grow a lot of mango, I am the producer. I'm the one who grow all the mangoes to sell it to the store, so the store can sell it to you, the buyers. So the producer is someone who grows the product. Just say if I was the producer of this pen, I own the factory who makes probably hundreds of millions of this pen a month. Then I sell this pen to the sellers, and the sellers sell it to you, the buyers. And that is what this whole page is about, how the producer sells the product to the sellers, and the sellers sell the product to you. As you can read through your text on page 63 and 64, it will explain all about buying and selling. Also, we will discuss this through our communication on Telegram and Zoom for further understandings. Okay, on to our next page, on page 64 of this unit. On page 64, talks about relationships between buyers and sellers in pricing and goods and service. For example, again, if I was to sell you this pen for $5, am I building a good relationship with my buyers? Probably not. You probably come by and say, wow, that is too expensive. I won't buy there. I'll go buy somewhere else. Because $5, that's a lot. So I have, as a seller, I have to set good price, and I have to set a good relationship between you. If I would sell this pen, I say, oh, this pen is only 50 cents. Please come to my store. You buy one, and maybe you buy two, I'll give you one free. So that is, I'm setting a good relationship. So I'm building a good communication with you. So I will want you to buy two, so I will give you one free. That is setting a good relationship between buyers and sellers. And I'm setting up the pricing. Setting up the pricing where I can have more customers to buy my products. That is building a relationship between buyers and sellers. So I hope you will use this knowledge. Maybe later on when you get older, run your own store or run your own coffee shop or selling anything where you can set good price, build good relationships between the buyers so you have a lot of people buying your products. And on the last section 2.3 is building relationships between buyers and sellers which keep peace in society and stability in the country. So what does that mean? Can you give me an example of that? Okay, I will give you a quick example for me. Just say I was the mango farmer again, if I was selling mangoes. So in order to sell mangoes, how to keep the peace in society, I would set a good pricing and be nice to my customers and communities. And maybe if there's families that come buy my mangoes, I would give them a couple free mangoes. Those are ways that I can keep peace and society in the countries by not putting the price too high. If I sell it for too expensive, like $5, nobody will come buy at my store. They will come and talk bad about my store and say, don't shop there no more. So I have to build a good relationship between the community and the country so I can have a good relationship between them. So on your first task, I want you to do is, this is a reading exercise. I want you to read either 2.2 or 2.3. Read this text, record your voice, and please post it up on our Telegram post so all your classmates could hear you. This is just a reading exercise and a reading first task. So you can pick either one, read the exercises, or read the whole paragraph, and please post it up on our Telegram post. Okay, this is your first task. I will give you 30 minutes. That's a lot of time for reading, and post it up on our board. Until our second video, bye. Class, welcome back to our second video of today's lessons. Thank you for your reading on the first exercise, on your first videos. My question was for you to read a paragraph and submit it to our Telegram post. And I see most of you have did it, and great job on your reading. You guys did excellent. In our reading, we talked about relationship between buyers and sellers, and where sellers get their product from, which is the producers, and buyers is also called the consumers. We have did a lot of reading and learning about this for the last few weeks, because last week we talked about paid and unpaid expenses, which is all about consumers buying and selling product. We will continue on with these studies for probably another week, so you can get a full understanding of how consumers and buying and selling works. Okay, now on to our second task. Our second task, I have one question for you, actually two, that I want you to do, which pertains to our reading on page 63 and 64. Once you read your text, understand it, and if you have any questions, you can always ask me and I will explain it to you. I want you to write a paragraph, that meaning a whole page or more, explaining the relationship between buyers and sellers. So as we discussed in the first video about the relationship between buyers and sellers, now I want you to write the relationship between buyers and sellers. And also in your writing, I want you to include where does the seller get their product from? And how should their relationship be? So I want you to write a whole page explaining the relationship between buyers and sellers and where sellers get their product and how should their relationship be. All this will come from your understanding from reading page 63 and 64, which we have discussed about it on the first video. If you need further understanding, please go back and watch your first video, and it will probably help and guide you through your readings. And if you have more questions, you can always ask me and I will explain it to you. Please join me in Zoom so we can discuss this more about your task 2 assignments and how you should write your paragraph. Remember, a paragraph means one whole page or more, so please write a lot. Okay, until on to our last videos. Bye. Hello class, and welcome to our last video for today's lessons. As you know, our last video always includes homework. So yes, we have homework. But today's homework have questions that's pertaining to last week's exercise. So I want you to review last week's exercise and even last week's video to give you some information about answering this homework. Because your homework is on page 66 in your book. Can you please turn to page 66 in your book? In page 66, there are 10 questions pertaining to Unit 7. Since this video or this lesson today is about 2.1, the first video that we did last week was on exercise 1. So this question is the combination of this week's lessons and also last week's lessons. There are 10 questions. And some of these questions are very difficult, so you have to read and understand this week's lesson and last week's lessons. But the good thing is you have till next week to answer this question and submit it in your homework. So please, after you finish with your homework, submit it to my personal telegram, then I will correct it and give you back your scores. And these questions, I already read some of it, is very tough. So you have to review all your lessons this week and last week to answer these questions. If you have any further questions, please let me know and I will explain it to you. Okay, this is the end of our lessons for today and the end of our lesson from last week. Till the next time we meet, be safe, stay healthy, and bye class.